Okay, if you are here, it simply means that you've made it to the space of common sense. So, what I'll be doing today is I will share with you how to play common sense and also the logic behind common sense. Now, one of the first and most important thing you must learn is that in life, the most important skill in the world is decision making. Now, every of life activities, your trajectory, your life, your vision depends on your power and mastery of decision. But every decision also is highly dependent on the capacity to gather data. And therefore, to be able to make the best decision that will give you the best result, you must use the seventh sense. But most people don't know the seventh sense. And this is how it works. You are aware of the five senses. Now, five senses is a sense of touch, taste, all those different senses. And what does it do? It helps you gather data about the universe, about your environment, so that it will enable you to make decision. But the challenge is that most people are only focused on five senses and they are not aware of the sixth sense. And what is the sixth sense? The sixth sense is what most people know as the spiritual channel. So it comes with instinct and intuition. But this is a challenge. Most people use one and forgo the other. So what it means is that if you're highly dependent on the five senses, you are almost like a scientist to some extent. You believe in empirical evidence. Anything you don't feel, anything you don't test, anything you don't see, any sound you don't hear, as far as you're concerned, does not exist. But there are another set of people too who they are spiritual. So at every point in time, they are dealing with I perceived, I hear, because they are focused on instinct and intuition. So the challenge, therefore, is that consistently they only focus on that. They don't take action, they don't make move. Even if they see all the evidence before them, they really cannot make move, except they get what they call that perception, that spiritual leading. And this is where most people underperform in life. The gift of life is that we're supposed to use five sense and then also use the sixth sense. Now, when you blend the two together, you have a new hybrid called the seventh sense. That is the logic behind the seventh sense. Unfortunately, most traditional schools don't have a course or they don't have a platform where they teach seventh sense for the way it is. And so most people are not aware of it. And this is where you have the pocket university called the seventh sense. Now, common sense. And why is common sense doing that? It's because common sense is utilizing the concept of alternative education, which means you will learn a lot, not necessarily in a school setting. You will learn discussing with friends, you will learn through a community, you will learn building relationship. So, what does common sense do? Common sense simulates situations of life so that you can master it before those situation comes to you. And that is what makes common sense the powerful tool in the world for learning seventh sense. And what are the kind of skills and competencies you learn? You learn skills like communication, the capacity to master the act and science of communication. It teaches you things about negotiation intelligence. You now learn how to negotiate. Life is entirely a game of negotiation. So you only get what you negotiate for. Then it teaches you about conflict resolution. However good you are, whatever your intentions are in life, you almost come to the place of conflict. So it's your duty to learn the art and the science and what it takes for you to negotiate. The next thing again, it will teach you how to read and understand people. The most important factor you find in life is people, whether in business, whether in the workplace, whether in the family, you must always see people. So, ability to master and understand how people think, how they behave, their perception, what drives them, gives you power beyond what you can expect. And how you do that is you master emotional intelligence. Because when the people are a bundle of emotions, so if you can understand their emotions, you can easily predict even their words and their actions. So if you go a little bit further, there are tons and tons of skills that you need to survive in work and also at home that you need to learn. They all require that capacity of the seventh sense to process the data you get and so that you can make a class decision. So common sense is It's a card game, as most people know it, and we call it the Pocket University. So when you get one, and obviously you have to buy, you just open it up. You're going to find a rule book inside. That rule book will explain all the rules, but quickly I want to itemize some four rules that are very, very crucial. So when you get a pack of Common Sense, how do you play any number? You can start from 2, 3 people can play it, 4, up to 9, 10, 11 can play Common Sense. As long as you have a table, you have chairs, and most importantly, we always advise have a piece of paper, a jotter, and a biro, because you will hear wisdoms you never thought you had within you or you hear from others. That is what makes common sense what it is. Now, at the point you share it, you can share. We always advise and recommend that you share in odd numbers. So you're doing in five, you're doing in threes, in seven, in nines, and the rest. There is a game mechanics to it. That's why we advise that. Then you now turn one in the middle. Then you're going to have the other card. And this card is what we call school. And I'll explain how it goes. Now, to play common sense, the first rule is that when you're playing common sense, you must almost get a context. Why? Because common sense is a game, a meaning making tool. Means for you to make meaning, you must learn to have a context. That context is what will frame the meaning and give it the best result that comes out of it. So before you start common sense, you put everyone together and agree what is going to be our context. You can use leadership, you can use marriage, you can use national leadership, you can use anything, human development, human capacity. You can use anything you want. You can even have a context of a book or film also as a context. Anything you have. The key word is that we are simulating the realities and then making the best decision out of it. And in the process, you learn how to master decision making. So when you're done agreeing on the rule, on the context you want to play with, the next thing that follows is that the first rule, you play a card. From the cards in your hand, assuming you have four cards here, and then on the table here, we have vision, which is the card that is upturned. Then I will look at the vision and maybe I want to play, for instance. I can say, if we're doing leadership as a context, I can say every leader that has a vision must have the courage to pursue that vision. Because some visions can be so strange that your followers might not appreciate or even understand it. So if you don't have the courage to even be the only one that believes in the journey while others don't believe because they don't see what you see and you don't have that courage, sometimes as a leader you must fail. So it simply means that for every leader to succeed, especially in leadership, if you have a vision, you must have a corresponding courage that will help you push this to the end. That's the rule. So you have 60 seconds to make this connection. For every card you play, you must connect within 60 seconds. And when you're done, the people on the table can ask you questions. They can interrogate. But whatever they ask you, you only have only one opportunity for a rebuttal, one opportunity to respond. And if after that response, they don't agree, then you go to school. You remember our school? The pack of cards that is remaining. You go there and pick one card. But if they agree in that context, we say you've made common sense. So the card continues. However, sometimes you may have the challenge where there are more people on the table, there is an argument. On some agree, some don't agree. In that kind of scenario, you call for a vote. If you have a higher number of people who agree, then the card stands and then you continue. Rule number one. Rule number two, there's a card called Common Sense. There are five cards in a pack of 72. What Common Sense does is that if I play Common Sense, the person by me goes to school twice. So he comes to the school and pick two cards. But if the person has Common Sense, the person can defend it. At that point, you say Common Sense cancels Common Sense. And then the game continues. Then the third rule is that there's a card called Money. And money is somewhat technical. And how do you do it? If you have, for instance, I have three cards here and I have money, and then I have maybe labor here, and then I say I want to buy labor because your money must always buy what you have, not what others have. And the logic behind that is that every card here is only one, except money, common sense. Every card is just one. So any card you buy, the logic is that you're the only one that have it. So everyone will need to go to school because they don't have it, and then you play. But there is a catch. What is the catch? The catch is that you must explain, can money buy labor? If you cannot explain convincingly how money can buy labor, then it means you're the one to go to school. Because the logic of common sense is that you must be able to create meaningful and convincing meanings. If you can't, then that is why you don't connect in the logic of common sense. So anytime you don't connect, you go to school. But when you connect, the card continues. That's the third rule. Now the fourth rule is a card called life and death. One life, one death. Now, for you to win in common sense, games when you're playing, how it works is that the first person to finish the card is the winner. And the logic behind that is that it means you made more convincing meaning, and that is why you're the winner. But paraventure, you want to be adventurous, you know how game works. You just want to spoil the thing, as some people will say it. The logic simply is that if you have death, you can play it. And if you play death, it means the card ends. Nobody wins, nobody loses. So you shuffle everything and then you replay it and share again. But if among the people who are playing, someone has a card called life, the person can play on death. At that point, you say the game has resurrected and then the game continues. These are the core four rules that make up common sense. But at the point you get the card and the leaflet, you get other instructions that will help you play a common sense. But don't forget, the core thing behind it is common sense is an alternative education tool. It helps you learn skills and competencies that you didn't get in the formal education. But most importantly, common sense is designed to help you build the seven sense skill that helps you master the art of making the best form of decision that will give you the best form of result. And the question might be, how do you use common sense? You can use it domestically or you can use it in a corporate setting, what we call industrial use. Domestic simply means you can play, husband and wife can play to understand each other more, and then you create more bonding. You can also use it for parenting. Play with your children, hear them connect and make meaning from words. It will help you understand what they are thinking and how they think about those words and the meaning it makes to them. Then you can guide them to the best meaning for which you want as a parent. You can also use their brothers and sisters to play. What does it do? It helps you connect. In the days of digital seclusion, where devices have been separating families and friends, common sense bring family and friends together. That's one of the power of common sense. Now, going further, in the industrial setting, use it in your office for board meeting. You can use it to analyze a project. You can use it to discuss and create what they call and enhance the emotional culture of your organization. You can use it to understand and appreciate everyone in the organization, how they think, why they think, what they think. That way, it will help you know how best to engage them in the process. We have some people using common sense even as an employment channel. They use it to play with those that they are seeking to employ just to know if their process of thinking is good enough for the organization. Then also, you can use common sense to analyze films. You can use it to analyze books. If you want to bring some kind of joy, excitement to a book reading or to your book or a book launch, you can use common sense to discuss the theme, discuss the character, the characterization, discuss the plotting, and all the process of appreciating, a work, a written work, just so that people will live with a more practical experience of that book. That way, the book will come alive, and even the film will not only come alive, but it becomes personal because of the power of simulation that common sense brings. Until you hear from me next time, my name is Victor Prince Dixon. See you at the top with the seventh sense mastery.